Don't ready. Don't ready. Don't ready. Don't ready. Are you ready now? Ready now. All right. Let's go then. 1, 2, 3. Hey.
Hi, I'm George.
And I'm Tommy.
This is Bunny.
We are the Mighty Diamonds.
Hello everybody, you're welcome back again to the Reggae Appreciation Society, when we take a cursory look at the large number of talented groups that emerged during the peak years of roots reggae in the late 1960s and into the 1970s. There are very few that inspire the affection and love of the fans, like the Mighty Diamonds. They are regarded as one of, if not, the greatest vocal harmony group to come out from Jamaica. They were heavily influenced by American soul groups of the 1960s like the Temptations and the Stylistics, and they applied that style to the teachings of Marcus Garvey and the Rastafarian faith. And upon their debut in the mid-1970s, they made some of the finest music ever performed at the very peak of the roots reggae era. They were pulling off the amazing feat of delivering the sweetest harmonized group vocals while preaching the most militant and searing subject matter of their era. By the end of the 1960s, this terrific trio came together from the most unlikely backgrounds to become one of the most beloved Jamaican acts of all time. The Mighty Diamonds made songs that struck listeners' hearts and souls at a base level like no other group could. And whether it was a cry for a roof over our heads or for Jah to have mercy on a good man or girl, the Mighty Diamonds touched us all in a deeply personal place that all of us could relate to. Their longevity exemplified the scientific fact that diamonds are the hardest substance in nature. In an industry riddled with intergroup rivalries and breakups, this trio broke the mold by building a bond of respect and brotherhood that saw them become the longest running musical group in Jamaican history and one of the longest running ever in the world. Let's take a look at the glittering story of the Mighty Diamonds. Though the trio was formed in 1969, their story began about a decade earlier. Donald Shaw and Fitzroy Simpson were close friends in high school and shared a strong love for music, and both dreamt of becoming music stars one day. After finishing high school, they both went to learn trades, with Donald becoming a welder and Fitzroy learning to become a carpenter. They lived close to one another in Trenchtown, and after a couple of years, they reignited their friendship and ambitions of making it in the music business. Fitzroy had been part of a group called the Meditators, with singer and producer Pat Francis, aka Jah Lloyd, but at the time, he was running a sound system called the Soul Pack. They began to hang out a lot together, singing as a duo and refining their craft. Incidentally, another classmate of theirs, Lloyd Ferguson, also lived in Trenchtown. Since leaving high school, he had joined the army and had just resigned from the police force. As fate would have it, he was also a gifted singer, songwriter, and guitarist. And one night while Donald and Fitzroy were rehearsing on a street corner, Lloyd just happened to be walking by and recognized his classmates. And after catching up on old times, he offered to play his guitar to the song they were singing, and the combination just clicked. The three guys came together and the trio was formed. They called themselves the Limelights and started rehearsing regularly at Donald's house. Donald's mother walked in on them singing one day and remarked that they were fabulous, just like diamonds. This inspired the trio to change their name to the Diamonds, and they released their first single in 1974 for producer Rupie Edwards. The song made little impact, but the guys kept on pushing and working with different producers like Lee Scratch Perry, Bonnie Striker Lee, and Fitzroy's old colleague Jah Lloyd. It was Jah Lloyd who produced their first hit, Shame and Pride, that was released under his Team record label. It was a promising song, but seeing that his outfit lacked the distribution network to make it a hit, he selflessly introduced them to Channel 1 Studios, run by producer Jojo Hu Kim and his sound engineer brother Ernest Hu Kim. The Mighty Diamonds then moved to Channel 1 Studios and label in 1975, and as predicted, everything began to come together. This new studio not only had some of the most advanced recording equipment of that era, but also had in its ranks an elite in-house band called the Revolutionaries, which was comprised of some of the finest instrumentalists in Jamaica. This lineup included a young Sly Dunbar and Robbie Shakespeare. They recorded two singles, Country Living and Hey Girl, which became big hits in Jamaica. The guys would become known as Tabby Diamond, Bonnie Diamond, and Judge Diamond, and they called the attention of Jamaica with their music and would get discovered by Frontline Records, a subsidiary of Virgin Records, which signed them in 1975. They went to work immediately for their debut album, with the Revolutionaries right behind them. Sly Dunbar had created a new approach to reggae sound and drumming called Rockers, and along with Robbie, they unleashed their creative fire on the group's material. Combine these wicked instrumentals with the trio's vocal brilliance, and the result was the groundbreaking and brilliant masterpiece Right Time, which hit the streets in 1976. A record filled with 10 excellent songs of deep spiritual and social value. Superbly backed up by Bunny and George's immaculate harmonies, Tabby's lead vocals had an achingly expressive and honest quality that gave you goosebumps and a rich emotional experience from start to finish of the record. The title track Right Time was an uplifting Rasta call to arms, which related Marcus Garvey's prophetic vision of Judgment Day, aka The Right Time. The album contained other amazing numbers like Shame and Pride, which was the only love song on the album, as well as the irresistible prayer-like song Have Mercy, the uplifting Africa, and one of their most enduring and popular tracks, I Need a Roof. I Need a Roof became a universally loved song that contains simple yet deeply meaningful lyrics that resonate with everybody. Just check it out. I need a roof over my head, with bread on my table, with love in my heart, and love for everyone. I mean, who doesn't want that? We all do. Tabby Diamond's vocal performance really evoked the sufferings, desires and feelings of the fans, and that, I believe, is the primary quality of the Right Time album. Upon its release, the album spread like wildfire and became a smash hit, both in Jamaica and in the UK. And even though at the time, violence in the music industry in Jamaica had led the government to ban official record charts in that year, the album has been rated as second only to Burning Spears' Man in the Hills album in 1976. For the second album, Virgin Records tried to expand the group's global audience by making them part ways with Channel One and hooking up in America with famous producer Alain Toussaint. It backfired as the group's second album, Ice on Fire, failed to connect with the fans upon its release in 1977 and flopped. They returned to Jamaica and to Channel One studios, and the hits returned. They also marked their return with a fantastic performance as one of the headliners at the now legendary One Love Peace concerts. Their next albums, Stand Up to Your Judgment, Deeper Roots, and Changes, produced at Channel One studios, all became critical and commercial successes. The 1980 hit song, Pass the Coochie, was strongly condemned by then Jamaican Prime Minister Edward Seager, as he felt it endorsed the illegal use of herb. The song was also banned on the airwaves, but rather than suppress its popularity, it made it even more popular home and abroad, so much so that in 1982, British reggae band Musical Youth did a cover called Pass the Dutchie, which became an even bigger commercial success and went to number 1 on the UK charts and top 5 in many other countries' official charts, including the US. The trio's success kept rolling from the 70s into the 80s, 90s, and beyond. They had a quality that made them more friends than just a musical group. They moved and operated like true brothers, devoid of egos or greed that was the undoing of so many of their colleagues and contemporaries. A famous example is when George Diamond, who was the group's songwriter and lead singer at the beginning, chose to step down for Tabby when he saw that Tabby had what it took to take the band to the next level. The Mighty Diamonds went on to an astonishing and successful career and were among the busiest groups ever, with 47 studio albums and a packed annual tour schedule with concerts and shows all over the globe. The trio were an inseparable and an unstoppable unit until 2017, when Bunny Diamond suffered a diabetic stroke. George and Tabby were deeply affected by Bunny's absence, but continued to forge ahead, and after a brief pause, they hired a replacement singer called Joe Benaya and kept on touring. In 2021, the band received the Order of Distinction from the Jamaican government for their contributions to Jamaican music and culture. But tragedy struck the trio a mortal blow when on March 29, 2022, Tabby was gunned down in a drive-by shooting in his neighborhood in the Waterhouse area of Kingston, said to be retaliation for a murder committed by Tabby's son. Another statistic in the horrific gang violence in Kingston, Jamaica. 3 days later, Bunny Diamond passed on due to complications from the same diabetes that has stopped him from continuing to make music and tour with his group. We can only wonder if it was heartbreak at the loss of his old friend. So George Diamond was left as the last man standing of one of the most celebrated and loved reggae groups of all time. The trio had been together for an incredible 52 years, prime example of unity, love and endurance. So the Mighty Diamonds came to an end in 2022, but their beautiful timeless songs will always be there to evoke the same emotions, enrich our hearts, entertain and inspire us through life's different stages and phases. Simply put, diamonds are forever. So there you have it. Thank you for watching the video today. Please leave a like, subscribe, and until next time, Jah bless.